Welcome back to Star Wars Nerds Unite, episode number 104.
Is it?
Yeah, it is.
I thought it was 104.
It was going to be 105, but I didn't release 104 that we actually recorded before Celebration, which is what we're going to be talking about today. So we have one in the can, folks.
Oh,
so
man.
this episode is late. The next episode will be
Early.
on time. And then we'll have to record another one.
Except it's about Star Wars Rebels that happened 4 months
Months
ago.
and months and months ago.
So as we talked about, we are a Star Wars podcast. I'm your host, the hostess with the mostest, Tim VanAutreve.
Yeah.
And joining me, as always, are
You're
Josh.
making a lot of noise there.
So are you, Yogurt Girl.
Yeah, but you're always super
We're in a
obsessed
hurry.
with it.
Yeah, we are in a hurry. I gotta get to a chorus concert for my kids. Jenny's over here eating yogurt. Josh has got his face in his phone. Anyway, that's Josh and Jen. We do
Hi.
we do a podcast about stuff.
This
Hi.
thing,
So,
we talk into these microphones.
yep, we were on vacation in Cape Canaveral, Jenny and I, with our 5 children, and we
Did stuff.
we did stuff, and then we decided one day to go over to Celebration on the Thursday.
What's
first
what's
day?
celebration?
Celebration
for the
is
uninitiated.
it is the Star Wars convention. Let me tell you what.
Like they don't even really go to Comic-Con anymore. They just have their own convention just for Star Wars.
Right. And like all the big guys are there. It's like the only convention where all the real Star Wars actors actually come.
Right. So why don't you tell us about your experience
I will.
while you sip on your
Kombucha.
kombucha?
We had one day, Thursday.
It's got
And that was-
polyphenols, and it's got
Yeah.
electrolytes and
Probiotics.
enzymes in it.
It's good for you.
You can repurpose, reinvent,
Last
relive,
year,
reimagine, reclaim, recapture, rediscover, redefine, rekindle, rethink, reawaken, and rebalance yourself.
I am. I'm doing all of those
Just
things.
with this mystery slurry.
Well, I had to open
last
it right
year,
before the
when I
podcast because
started
I had to
drinking
redo better.
kombucha, he thought it was disgusting. He would literally gag if
disgusting.
he smelled it. And now he drinks them
I drink a bottle a day.
nonstop.
It's disgusting.
I'm so much. My
I actually really like
digestive
'em.
tract is.
Oh,
a
I'm
lot
sure
happier
it's like a slippery slide.
I'm not kidding. Like, I'm not going to get into the gross details on this podcast, but there's some very basic benefits to having switched to drinking this that are very
So,
welcome.
We went on Thursday, April 13th. I believe that was the first
Thursday.
day.
You went on Thursday.
That's what I said.
You
Yeah,
said
that's
Wednesday.
the first day of the
I
con.
said Thursday.
Okay.
What?
Nothing.
He said I said Wednesday.
Oh my
I did.
God.
Okay.
she did.
Get on with it.
Thursday, April 13th.
Yep. Which was day one
Day.
of the
I've already said this. Can we please get on to the story?
It was awful. I'll say.
So we
It
got
was.
there. We didn't
I
know
was
where to go.
Really excited to go. I've never been to a Star Wars convention. I've been to comic conventions before.
Yep.
And I thought this was probably going to be similar. I was excited. I really like going to the conventions and just seeing so many happy, nerdy people like
people that want to be there.
being in their
Yeah.
element and they're like it's
Yeah,
like
it's their
the
jam.
best day of their year. You can
Yep.
just tell it's just like pure joy.
Everyone's
And
happy.
everybody is like a kid that day. They're just like so excited about everything. And there's just all these things that amaze them everywhere they turn. So it's like a really positive, great, wonderful day. Even if you're just like looking around and seeing other people being happy, it's just like a nice day. It should be.
A joyous gathering.
So we got there. We had to drive about an hour from Cape Canaveral to get there. It was fine. It was
an easy drive.
easy.
It is.
We get there.
Except you have to deal with Florida drivers who are the worst on the face of the
really
earth.
truly was not bad.
It
And
was
even once we
awesome.
got to the convention center,
Well,
we
Tim
found a
was
parking
like,
spot right away.
well, yeah, he
but we
was.
didn't know where to go. The convention center's huge. It's like a ton of buildings.
That didn't really matter, though. He was really worried. We were joking about how bad the parking was when we went to Wizard World. We literally drove around for at least an hour and a half trying to find a parking spot at Wizard World.
In the parking deck.
And he was like, oh, it's going to be worse here.
Mm-hmm.
We found a spot. They had a lot. People directing you, signs. It was only $10. Super easy. Got in, got out. Walked over to the convention center.
But we were just following a crowd because there were no signs.
There's
We
no
had no
signs.
idea where the line started.
We walked over
Or
to the
even which
convention
building.
center, and there's an obvious line of people. There's like lots of people coming from all directions,
And you can
going towards the
see
line.
an entrance to the convention center down there.
Yeah,
And
so
it's got the big banners, the big Star Wars banners.
Yep.
we get
So
in
we're like, all
line,
right.
and we're
And
still
we had to
pretty
walk,
positive.
We had to walk
Well, it's
past
like
a bunch of people. The line had
you-
gone back.
It's like kind of awkward because you are like walking so far down this line of people. It's like you're getting in line to be at the end of the line. Like you're just walking forever to find the end of the line. But there's people from all over still coming into the line, so it was fine, no big deal. We get in line, and it was actually like we thought. It's not like you just stood there forever. You're like almost constantly moving.
Yeah, it was the
So,
line was always moving.
we're like,
and we got
okay.
to just where the line turned.
Well,
So we were
you're
at the very
rushing
end and we
things.
started to turn around.
You're rushing You're way rushing this.
I'm
So
I'm not rushing.
it was pretty shady. We're kind of like in front of the convention center in this long line. We can still see people filtering in from everywhere. So we know like we're not at the end of the line at least. Lots of trees, lots of shade. There's lots of people dressed up. Everybody's happy. And we're probably in line for 45 minutes. And we kind of get to like where we're actually kind of close to the building now, and we can see some doors. And then it's like,
I wasn't getting ahead. When we got in line, we were first to the spot where the line started to turn in on itself. So there's a double line formed. So we are in the line facing.
it doesn't matter which way we're facing. We're
Yeah.
in the line, and then it turns.
But the line is so long that it doubles back on itself.
Yes.
So we're walking progressively, pretty steadily for 45 minutes till we get up to where these buildings are. And there's still people to the right of us that are at the back of the line now.
Yeah.
And it's a good ways up.
And so we like think we're getting close to the building. I mean, we can see the building, we can see doors. The closer you get to the building, you realize there's nobody going in those doors. And the line keeps going. So we keep going.
And then
And
there's
then
another building
And then
with another set of doors.
and then the building turns. And then it turns again. And then the line keeps continuing past the building. And the trees are gone. The shade is gone. It's like
hot.
it's
It's
after
getting to be noon.
it's noonish. It's high noon. It's
In Florida.
80 degrees. You've been in line for an hour and a half.
and you were wearing a sweater
I'm wearing a sweater and jeans.
because you're an old person.
And it's smart to wear layers. And so all together, we're in line for over 2.5 hours outside.
Before we got in the building.
before we got into the building. And then
And what time did you get there?
10:45.
When did the
No, 10:30.
When do the gates open?
8 a.m.
Okay.
No.
People were in line at 5 a.m.
Yeah, but the doors actually opened at like 10.
Because the first presentation was at like 12 or 11 or
It was
the
at
first
11.
one was at 11.
So we're talking Eastern time when we were there.
Yeah.
So 10 is when the doors open. That's why the line was moving so fast.
And you got there at 10:30.
Yeah, but the line kept going. I mean, we were not only so far back in line, but we were in a line where we saw the end of the line facing us coming the other way,
Right.
snaking around. But then when we kept going all the way around the back of the building, we were facing other people that were coming
snaking.
back the
They were
other way.
sneaking back, yes. So
So we finally got to where the line snaked and we were going to be the head of the snake. We turned around and then there's only like 50 people behind us.
yeah, so
Somehow this line that we've stood in front of for 2.5 hours where we saw 1,000 people in the line that were behind us are now gone because they got in. They went in
So
one
you
of the
went
other
the wrong
doors.
way.
No.
no, there was
There was
There was no. There's thousands of people in line ahead of us. We are in a line with
So what you should have
massive
done-
amounts of people.
Just gonna teach you a lesson here. You have 2 human beings. You have one human being stay in the line to hold your spot. Then you have the other human being walk to the front of the line to assess the situation.
It would have taken you at least 45
It was-
minutes.
How long
to
were you in the line?
The line
jog.
was 3 miles long.
How long were you in the line?
I'm not kidding. 3 miles long.
How long were you in the line?
2.5 hours.
All right. So even if it took you 45 minutes to get to the front, if you would have saved 30 minutes in not getting
I
rerouted to
don't
some
even
other
know-
mystical
listen,
place.
I don't even know where those people at the front of the line ever even were going in, because all of a sudden, after we snaked around and were in line for quite a while again, some employees came out and they
Security
said,
guards.
they were like, okay,
You can't get in here.
We're just going to let you guys in.
They were like, hey, if you have your ticket, you can come in these doors. As long as you have your ticket, you can come in. And so Tim had a badge on his phone or something. And so we're like, oh God, we got to get our stuff. They better let us in with this QRC code or whatever. We get to the door. They're not even checking badges.
Yeah,
they just,
They
the
just
door
let everybody in.
wide
along.
open. And then you come
Move
in
along.
and then you're just in this huge
Open area.
open
area.
area.
And there's no signs.
No employees.
No one knows where anybody's
Nothing.
supposed to go.
So we could have walked in any door in that
Done whatever you
building
want.
Yeah.
and done anything.
So that's rule number 2. I've already elaborated on how you should handle long lines. Rule number 2 is just go through the doors and act like you belong.
well,
no one's going to stop
This is the thing
you.
that really sucks. So at one point when we were close enough to the building that we could see inside, there was like restrooms and everything.
Yeah.
We've been in line for an hour and a half at least at this point, and
Yeah.
I was like, I need to go to the bathroom. This is ridiculous. So I like went inside, went to the bathroom,
Yeah.
and then went outside and got back in
You
line
should've
like
just
a
stayed in.
moron.
Yeah.
And I just thought, surely there's a point to all this. They're making people go through metal detectors. They're checking their bags.
But-
They're looking at
Yeah.
verifying their registration. They're doing something. They had us in this line for nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. And
There were like these teeny little signs that assured you were in the right line.
Star Wars celebration
but
this way.
Line this way.
Yeah.
And it snaked you all the way around to where we went. But they were really, really far between, and there were no employees telling you anything. There was no communication.
And there was no communication once you got inside. We went up to a person, security man or something, and I think we had
Holly.
to ask.
Holly.
And he just said Holly. This place was massive, so we had to find Holly. It was on different levels.
And-
And then
And
once
then
we got to Holly,
there was security, but they didn't even check us.
they didn't
Right.
check
They were
for
literally
any.
just waving
They don't care.
every
They
single
didn't
person
check
through.
anything. So
The
then,
only thing they cared about was the shows. You needed wrist straps
No.
for the shows.
no, you
They
had
didn't even check those. Jesus tells us that later.
no, but listen to
Oh,
this.
yeah?
So we were outside in the heat for 2.5 hours. Going, it took us at least 15 minutes to get to Holly to find it. It was so huge, and there's no signs, no like any direction whatsoever. So we get to Holly. First thing we have to do when we get there is get in another
But we don't
45-minute
But we
line.
don't even know if we're in the right line. No
There's
one
a-
can tell us. There are no employees around. So
we
I
had to
had
get in another line to get our physical badge with your
Your will
name.
call.
So
Yeah.
because I could see the front of the line here, I had her stay and I walked up
Right.
and saw that you could buy tickets up there.
Yeah.
But there was nothing that said will call. But everybody was like, yeah, I'm here for will call. So there's no employee to ask.
And how long were we in that line? At least 45
and then
minutes.
I did ask an employee. I finally saw one. I asked, and they're like, he turned to one of the people in line. What are you guys in line for? And asked them what they were in line for. Oh my gosh.
And so 45 minutes at least, right? Once we were in that line,
Yeah,
maybe an
we,
hour.
We were in line for like 3.5 hours.
Yeah, so it was probably closer to an hour. So then, if you get your basic badge
Right.
like that you wear with the lanyard to get in
in
to
the door.
the convention, then if you wanted to go to any panel,
Right.
you had to get in a separate
strap.
line
Yeah.
for that to get a wristband.
Yep.
And then wait
And-
in line to get into the panel.
For seating, right?
By the time we got our lanyards, there was no panels available except for whatever. But even the ones, I can't even remember what was still open.
Yeah.
But by then, we had half the day was over,
Right.
and there's no way.
And we had
could
limited
have,
time because we had left the kids in Cape Canaveral, and Jenny was afraid a shark was going to come eat them,
and,
even though they weren't even on the beach.
Yeah, well, sharks are...
Well,
Tricky.
don't
Tricky.
act like I'm being crazy because Tim let them go to the beach without us. And there was 3 shark attacks there.
3 shark attacks in
And
one day?
No, 3
With-
shark attacks
Within the week that we were there.
within 2 days.
Within 2 days.
Wow.
And there's been another one since we left.
Those sharks are feisty.
Yes. So don't act like it's irrational
Did anyone
fear.
die?
Not
No.
that I know of.
One
yet.
woman refused medical treatment.
One was a 10-year-old girl. One was a 10-year-old girl that was in the hospital, though, and she had a 6-inch laceration on her leg or abdomen or something. So she was in serious condition. It wasn't like
You
it
think
was a minnow
6-inch
bite.
laceration is serious?
Depending on where that 6 inches is on a 10-year-old girl,
I guess.
their whole entire abdomen is barely 6 inches
It wasn't
wide.
her abdomen, it was her thigh.
Okay, well, she could have got her femoral artery
Okay.
splayed open.
Anyway,
So we
You wasted half your day
and I
More
got
than
the
half.
so-
navigating
the
convention center
Okay,
hall.
let me finish about the
Okay.
panels. Like I had finally been able to look up and see like a schedule because it took them forever to post any kind of schedule of what panels are going to be on
Right.
what day. Finally, I had looked up and saw 2 panels that I wanted to go to. But then when you get there, nobody knows
Where
what the
anything
wristbands
is,
are
yeah.
for, which line is for which panel. And I got the impression that you had to pay extra for
Yeah,
the
no.
wristband. Nobody knew anything. And I'm like, I'm not going to go stand in line for another hour and then pay more money and that'd be our whole day. And so I was so frustrated. Even by the time we could walk in, I was like, this is the worst.
she was
I'm not gonna
she was really
elaborate
pleasant to
on
be around.
details.
I bet.
There was one day of our vacation that I had to spend the entire day in the hospital. And after we were in line for like 2 hours, I was like, this is worse than the hospital day. I'd rather be there.
Vacations suck.
Yeah, it was the worst. So turns out you didn't have to pay extra for the wristbands. I don't really know what the point of the wristband was, if it was just to limit it to a certain number of seats.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
they didn't even check.
But they
People
didn't-
just got in
they
anyway.
Well, I
didn't-
think if it was one of the big ones, they probably checked. Like the 40th
Jesus.
anniversary
Jesus
one.
told us that like they were
They
in
just
them
roll in.
and they were just standing in the back. They were only supposed to have enough for seating, but there
Yeah.
were tons of people just standing.
And he said
And
people,
a lot of
people were
people just
cutting in
didn't have-
line.
yeah.
People didn't have wristbands.
It
And
was the Wild West.
he was, I think they got there by 5 a.m. and they were in lines for at least 6 hours
Yeah.
by the time we saw them. And because they had to go through the lines outside and then inside and then the wristband line and then the panel line to get in to get
Yeah.
a seat. So even though they had gotten there at 5 a.m. and we had gotten there at
Periscope
10:30,
Inception.
they had not seen anything at all
Yeah.
of the convention.
But they saw the panel.
But see, this is how misdirected everything was. They thought they were getting in line for a wristband to watch the
40th anniversary.
40th
thing.
anniversary
Right.
special where you have all the big stars talking. They were in a line to get a wristband to watch the live stream
In another theater.
in another room.
Right.
And the live stream didn't even work.
yeah.
And people were just pulling it up on their
phones.
They could have done that anywhere in the convention center. Why did they make
Were there
them
seats
stand
readily
in line?
available?
No, they had to wait in line for
No,
hours.
that's what I'm saying. Like, at least you got to sit in a nice comfy
I don't
chair.
know. I don't think they got to sit.
No,
They
they
did.
said they were standing.
They had to.
They told me they were
after
standing.
The
they
second
waited for
theater was supposed to
hours.
have chairs, but
They may have
sure
had
so they
it
didn't
did.
have.
They were standing.
They were standing because they didn't have wristbands or.
no,
No,
they had wristbands.
They
They
waited
ran
in
out.
Still
line
had to
for
stand.
hours for wristbands. They had a
That's
wristband. They got. Oh, sorry.
Whoa!
Sorry.
Somebody's angry.
She is
I'm
fired
I'm
up.
hot. They waited in line for a wristband. They got a wristband. They waited in line to get into this panel that was not what they thought it was going to be anyway. Then they get in and there's still not enough seats. And there's tons of people who cut in front of them. And then they get in and then the live stream, the tech,
Yeah.
there's IT issues.
There was IT issues on the stream too. It like paused and started locking up in different spots.
And
everything I read was that the first day was kind of a fiasco.
It
and then the
was
second day
the
was a little
worst.
better. They figured out what they were doing, at least.
If they could have just let people in, and it would have been fine.
they could have had every door in that convention center open.
I don't know why they
public.
check that stuff anyways. Like,
They didn't check anything when we came in. It was I don't know. They needed signs. They needed people.
so once you got in, did you look at anything?
Yes.
Tell us about the
Okay,
positive part
all
of
right.
this experience.
No, I want to tell you one more thing. So one thing that really bothered me.
What time are we like cutting?
6:45 is like
We got-
drop dead.
41 more minutes
All right.
of Jen ranting about standing in
Okay.
line. She's
So,
going to have ranted longer than she stood in the actual line.
Okay. So, like I said, one thing I really like is how positive everybody is and how excited everybody is. There was this little boy in front of us the entire time we were in line. This little guy, he couldn't have been more than 5 years old. And he was
so excited when he
was
first got in
so
line.
excited. He was in a Darth Vader costume. And,
And
he
everybody was
God.
coming
It
up
was-
to him and
Hey,
taking
man,
pictures.
everybody was so excited to
He
see
took a
him.
nap,
No.
ate lunch,
Listen, he
woke
was,
up, then he made it to the front of the line.
him and he was with his dad and
Yeah.
his grandpa. They had no water. He's in pants and then the
And the Darth-
costume,
right, and it's black.
sweatshirt, hoodie, hat, everything. And he's walking. We were about 2 hours in, and he just broke down. He just laid on the ground and
By
started
a tree
crying.
and just lost it.
He kept asking his dad for water. His dad was trying to like stay positive, and he's like, "It'll be worth it, buddy. It'll be okay." And then
I'm proud of
you
you
can
being
just
really
see
good.
everybody's spirits being crushed.
Destroyed.
I was like, I think this is like a social experiment. This
Yeah.
is not really happening. But then that's what made me the most mad is this poor little kid who's being out
That
in the
made her
heat.
most mad.
Yeah.
That
I'm
was
sure.
cause he was so happy to be there, and then he was so upset. I mean, it was like miserable. He
Yeah,
should not have had
sounds
to
like
go
it.
through that.
Okay, so once we got
Okay.
into the show floor, they let us in, barely checked badges. Like I probably could have seriously just walked in.
Yeah.
And then we saw Star Wars themed cars, and there was a bunch of like pictures of the costumes, or not pictures, but like stands, glass cases with the costumes in them.
What costumes? The costume.
Yeah, like Vader's costume and like Leia's,
Okay.
like,
White dress.
yeah.
So original trilogy costume.
Yeah. And there's a big Lego setup where it had like all the old school Legos. And I was like, oh, I had that one and that one and that one. And then I walked in and I realized that this is almost exactly like every other comic book convention.
Yeah.
It's very similar
Vendor
to
stalls.
C2.
Yeah, they have sponsors where they have some maybe cool thing to do. And then they have vendors where they're hawking their stuff.
Autograph aisle.
They have the autograph section. They had the tattoo area. And they had the one bigger thing that it had was the food court.
Best
seriously,
Korean
there was-
tacos on the planet.
There were probably 30 different
That was
stands.
one of the few positives of the day. I had an amazing quesadilla.
An amazing quesadilla.
By the time we were inside, like that's one of the first things we did is we went and ate.
Yeah.
Like, I need to sit down.
Yeah.
Let's eat and get out of here.
So we walked through the tattoo area.
How come you
It was
didn't give
crammed.
the little boy your water?
We didn't have any. I didn't have any water.
Oh,
I would
man.
have given it to him.
guys are
I didn't
crazy.
know I needed a pack for like a day trip.
I bring my Nalgene everywhere.
Okay. So I'd been messaging Jesus this whole time, and he wouldn't answer me the first like 2 hours.
Because he was fully immersed
Right.
in Star Wars.
And I was like, oh man,
He was in a line somewhere.
Jesus is rejecting me.
We were in
for
a
some
different line.
reason. And he finally messaged me, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And so we started walking a little bit. He's like, we're almost done with this panel. And we ran across this stage, and somebody's sitting up there, and there's a great big TIE fighter.
Yep.
So we started walking toward it, and we got really close to the stage, and all of a sudden, Harrison Ford and George Lucas walk out onto the stage. They're
We
20
were
feet away
really
from
close
us.
to us.
Yeah.
And there
20 feet
wasn't
away.
anybody,
Yeah,
like
it
I
was-
said, there's no communication anywhere. Nobody
So that
had
was the
any
live
idea.
stream stage. So people just randomly showed up on it. Like they didn't, even on the stream, they didn't say who was coming up.
Yeah,
So it was a surprise to everybody.
We just like happened to be in the right place at the right time.
Right.
It was
Yeah.
really
So
good.
it was really cool to see Harrison Ford in person. It's almost hard to describe like the difference in seeing, like you've seen somebody so many times on film, but then to actually see them in real life, it's like they look almost like really, really different.
I thought he looked the exact same.
All right. So,
He doesn't look like me in person. I thought that was just the movie, like the camera. I thought for sure we'd be like twins in real life.
I thought.
I mean, it looked like him, but it's just like such a different experience.
I couldn't
guess,
hear
is what I
anything.
mean. No,
There
the
was
mics didn't
no
work.
sound.
They were only for the stream. They weren't streaming out to the people.
Yeah, you'd think that the people that paid all the money to get in there and were standing 20 feet away would be
But how
privy to
hard
their
would it have been?
conversation.
Later on, they had sound.
Oh, they were blasting.
Yeah.
So probably just more growing pains, setup pains.
Oh, boy.
So that
Anyway,
was cool.
I saw
It was cool
Georgie
to see
George and his
them.
little neck thing up close.
The first-
up close and
His
personal.
bulge.
Yeah.
The very first thing that was, besides seeing all the people in line in their costumes, and that was the first good thing that happened.
Yeah, and
The
that started
next thing-
turning things around.
The next good thing that happened was a random fan came up and recognized him in line. His name was Miguel, and he's like
He's messaged him
commented
before.
on Facebook and stuff. I recognized his name once he posted our picture.
Yeah, and then I was like, oh, I totally did know who he was, and I should have acknowledged him more. So yeah, he found us in line. That was the first positive thing.
that was awesome.
But
and
we
then-
would already been in line.
Did you
for
say,
like an hour
hey,
and a half
look,
at that point.
6-year-old boy? People know me.
Well, the guy
He's
in
a
front
chump.
he was like, oh, I heard you guys have a podcast or something? I was like, yeah, we've got one. I told him. He's
You
like,
could
"Oh, I'll
have
check it
been
out."
schmoozing that whole time. That
Yeah.
was thousands of people that were captive.
My wife gets mad at me if I talk to strangers.
Whatever.
You could have brought like
The guy-
a boombox and just
Well, this
streamed
is
our
funny.
podcast the whole
The
time.
kids,
That
Yeah,
would've
these
been a good
guys are
idea.
great. I listen to it all the time.
like I said, we were not anticipating being outside for 2.5 hours before we got inside. But the kid's dad, who said, "Hey, were they talking about a podcast you're in?" His very next question was, "So, do you guys go to a lot of these? Is this normal?"
No.
I was like, "I've never experienced anything like this in my life."
Yeah, that's exactly what she said. Gosh, so dramatic.
I was like, "No sporting event, no theme park, no
2.5 hours in
convention."
line is pretty crazy.
Even
The
if it
thing
was
that
in
made me
line,
mad is that it was so unnecessary.
no one
Yeah.
told us anything. There was no
The lack of
communication.
communication.
And then the end of the line had dissolved by the time we got.
Yeah,
to where
by
we
the
could
time
get
you
in.
got in, there's no line.
Yeah.
All the doors, the floodgates opened.
Mm-hmm.
Probably because
Yeah, we were-
George and Harrison left the building, so like
whatever. Anyway, so
let the scum in.
we met up with Jesus. They were eating, and we got to talk. And we talked for a long time.
And that was like they had just now gotten into the convention after being there at 5 a.m. That was probably
and standing in lines.
yeah.
Yeah,
What
they
time
hadn't
was
been
that?
on the floor.
Like probably 1 or 2.
It was, I think, it
maybe
was 2
3.
o'clock.
And that was their first time walking into the convention.
So we talked to them for quite a while. And
We're
it was
not
fun.
even going to be able to talk about the trailer.
Well,
gotta
that could be
go.
a different episode. You want to talk about the trailer in this?
Yeah, we're gonna
Yeah,
talk about all.
we
the
gotta
different
talk about
stuff.
the
We gotta talk
trailer.
about
I don't know
Celebration.
anything about what happened at Celebrations. I know nothing.
Yeah, and that's one of the only real things I wanted to say was the lines were crappy, and you're there, and it's really hard to know what's actually going on. So you actually learn a lot more by not being at the convention.
Right. I sat and watched the stream at work.
we didn't get to
I
see
listened
anything.
to it.
Yeah,
on
and
my
Josh,
phone.
Josh is telling me what's happening at the
I kept
convention
sending
that I am
messages
at.
about what was happening during the streams.
Yeah, we don't know. I don't know anything about anything that took place there except I got to see all the stuff they were selling. But not even the official Celebration stuff because this was another line.
Right,
They
to buy the...
They had vendors everywhere.
Yeah.
But then if you wanted the official Celebrations gear, you had to wait in another line that probably was at least an hour and a half long to get into the Celebrations store.
Yeah. The con exclusive stuff.
Yeah. So we didn't even try.
Yeah,
to
there
go
was a
into
Lego
there.
set that was like... It was 300 and some odd pieces, and it was like $65. It's insane.
But they had...
And it's not even a cool set. It's Luke, Leia, in a hallway.
They had cool art. I mean, they had all kinds of vendors. They had artwork.
Yeah.
They had T-shirts. They had Legos. They had all kinds of like vintage toys.
Yep.
All kinds.
It's a con.
It was that stuff.
If you want to
was
buy it,
just
you can buy
typical.
it there for more than it's worth. But at least you have access to it.
So it like seeing that stuff, seeing the people. There was
Lots
a
of
lot
people
of nice
dressed up.
cosplayers.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were a
There
ton
was-
of people.
That was fun. We went to the autograph arena area.
Did you see
And
Hayden Christensen? He was
No.
The two people that I was excited to go see were not there.
there. Yeah.
SMP
And
and FPJ.
FPJ.
Yep, they were not there. That was like
That was
another
one of the
crushing
other.
moment after I went through that line.
Weren't they there on Saturday? I think they were on Saturday.
I don't know.
I think
Oh.
that's when the Rebels panel was.
We went the wrong day.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure by Saturday it was much
A lot of other people
smoother.
got pictures with.
Various people.
What? Who?
We'll talk about it later. I don't want to do it right now when you're all fired up.
Yeah.
Was it somebody we know?
Yeah.
No, just a random
Was it
person
Jesus?
sent him an email.
Who?
We'll go over it later. Hey, meeting Jesus was probably the highlight of my vacation.
Yeah, that was really
Not
cool.
just celebration. He's super nice. I wanted to hang out a lot longer, but we had to go. So they had a great time. And actually, if you search on Instagram, hashtag SWNU, you will see a ton of awesome pictures of celebration.
But not of us.
Not of us. We did take, he took a ton of pictures and he kept tagging.
We took a few.
Because he was
we
our
didn't get to
official
see very
correspondent.
much.
Yeah.
We have an email from him that we have to have time to read because he talks a bunch about what happened in the email. You want to talk about some of the things that actually happened
Yeah,
at
tell me.
Celebration?
I don't know anything about it.
So there was the 40th anniversary panel
Yeah.
that I watched or I listened to most of. I watched maybe 5 minutes of it. It was basically George and Warwick on a stage, and they just talked about Star Wars, and then random people from the original trilogy and the prequels
Just showed up.
and they talked for like 2 minutes about how amazing Star Wars is and yada yada yada. It was neat, but it was just a ton of fan service type stuff. There was the thing for Carrie Fisher where her daughter came out and they showed a video that you can watch on YouTube.
I watched that.
And then there was a live concert of John Williams in the
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
the convention center,
Yeah.
right
He
in the
played
theater.
Leia's song or whatever.
Leia's theme, and then a medley of other songs. So that was probably the coolest part. I wish I could have heard
You're
it live.
obsessed with the music.
Yeah, it's good.
Okay.
I think everyone that John Williams
I know, but I don't think people would
is
think
old.
that was the best.
For starters, he's like, I think he's either 80 or 78, or like he's super old,
Yeah.
and he never leaves his little tiny house. And
How do you know?
what do you mean? He's well documented.
Oh.
He's very weird. Like he's jazzy. He says "yeah, baby" and calls people angel, and like if you think of a jazz beatnik, that's what he is.
Hmm.
And it's just you never see him in public. He's not a very public person. So,
I see.
and he's a fixture of Star Wars.
Okay,
So that was the 40th anniversary thing.
Mhm.
The rest of that day, probably the next most interesting thing was there was a panel with Pablo Hidalgo and Filoni.
I wanted to go to that.
We saw it on the screen, but
Yeah.
we couldn't hear what was happening.
We couldn't hear anything they said.
Where they talked about stuff, not explicitly about Rebels, just kind of all animated stuff and some canon stuff that was kind of interesting. That was it really for Thursday. Then Friday, there was the big panel was the Last Jedi panel, where they didn't really reveal a whole lot.
Except for, a whole trailer.
There was a trailer, but they had people come out, but all anyone ever did was talk about how amazing Rian Johnson is,
Who's Rian Johnson?
the director.
Yeah. They
Oh.
talked about how great he is.
That's
And
pretty
he talked
much
about how great
they were, right?
Leia is.
And then Mark Hamill came out and talked for like 20 minutes about nothing in particular, in typical Mark Hamill fashion. And then they showed a trailer. That was the Last Jedi panel. I guess the biggest thing we got out of that panel was the new character called Rose.
And Ryan Johnson
Who's
took a whole
Rose?
bunch of back
Rose is
Like-
a new character who's like a
photography.
maintenance person in the Resistance. The
Yeah.
actress is Kelly Marie Tran,
She's the everyman in
Yeah.
this one,
basically.
showing that
She and Finn.
anyone can be the hero. I don't know if Finn's an everyman anymore. He's probably going to be like
Still kind of everyman-y. Yeah. They showed some behind the scenes pictures, but none of that really revealed a whole lot that we hadn't.
They talked about how BB-8 was going to be the Buster Keaton of the movie.
Yeah, okay. Not just general,
Whoever that is.
General hype. And then they showed the trailer. So did you watch the trailer?
Mm-hmm.
What did you think of it? I don't know that we have to go through all the beats of the trailer. I mean, it's not that long. So what was the most impacting thing of the trailer
I
to
think,
you?
of course, what Luke said about the only thing he knows is the Jedi must end. Very ominous.
Did you catch the whole dialogue? Like, did you listen with headphones or did you just blast it on your phone?
I listened.
The only place I got to watch it was on a beach.
I had almost no cell reception
Yeah.
or Wi-Fi. I could barely even see the screen because I was being blasted by the sun. I'm
has a
not even
terrible life.
sure.
She has a terrible...
I don't know why you go on vacation.
I'm not sure if I even watched the right trailer. Honestly, I don't know. No, I'm joking. I watched it again later. I don't know. That's all I heard.
Did you get the whole conversation?
That's all I heard him say. He said, all I know is
Well,
the
he
Jedi
says...
must end.
He says...
I don't know what other conversation.
There's lots of spoken word, but there's lots of, like, ancillary stuff. Like, there's Obi-Wan and Yoda.
Well, he
and
says, what do you see?
Harry,
good.
Leia.
Dark.
There's a little light, darkness.
Yeah.
And he says, it's so much more than that. And then he says, the only thing I know is that the Jedi must end. Super ominous.
Yeah.
What do you think he means? What do you think it all means?
I think he
'Cause he's
means
clearly
you can't
training
have one
Rey.
extreme without the other.
So you think they're going to do like the BenView?
Yeah.
No more good and evil. Just gray Jedi.
I think that's what he's got to go for. He's going to go for it.
I think that's what it means.
But Jedi sounds way cooler than BenView.
Well, he is the BenView. Luke couldn't be the BenView.
But the BenView is that...
He's the
I thought it was
being.
that
Gray
ox
Jedi.
guy.
That's the BenView.
Yeah, isn't it one being or is it an entire...
Yeah, it's a being.
It's an entire
It's a thing.
too. It's not just a guy.
I think it's just him.
It's not.
Yeah. I don't think that's what it is at all.
What
but
do
I'm
you
going to
think it
save my
means?
theory for a specific email that we read.
Okay.
Okay.
What else?
I thought, and this might have been like a glare from the sun, I thought that I saw when it was showing Rey from a far distance
Yeah.
with the lightsaber, I
Training,
thought there
yeah.
was Luke in front of her. And
Luke was up on the stairs.
I thought somebody was in front of her, and then I thought there was somebody else way behind her watching.
No. No, Luke was up on the stairs. She was by herself.
Okay, well, I thought there was two
And
other people.
intrepid people on the internet found somebody watched it and said, this looks funny. And they played it in reverse. And they reversed the video for the trailer so that it made the reveal more interesting. The actual video is backwards.
What?
What?
Okay.
Not that confusing of a concept. They flipped the video so that it would go the other direction. Because all of her movements are backwards. Like, you have to watch it. It's on the internet.
Okay.
It's funny.
What else was there?
There's the new planet with the red dust.
Yeah.
Okay.
That wasn't cool to you?
I didn't pick up on that.
That it was a new planet?
I don't
There are
have
lots
all
of
the
planets with red
memorized.
dust that we've seen in Star Wars.
I didn't really get that.
It's
excited
called
about it.
Crate.
Yeah, they're putting it in the new Star Wars land in Disney World.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
I didn't read that.
Mm-hmm.
And so Finn was...
I'm sorry. They're putting that planet on the Star Tours. That's one of the
Oh,
planets you
okay.
could travel to.
So Finn was...
It's
and
2
he
seconds
wasn't
in the trailer.
A tank, but
No,
he was just like in a bed or
yeah,
something.
Bubble Boy.
You see Poe and BB-8 running.
Yeah. You see Phasma. You see a Jedi temple burning.
I didn't see Phasma. I saw somebody said something about Phasma. I don't even remember. I
So,
couldn't even see her.
When they showed Luke looking off into the distance at the burning temple, it cuts to another shot where there's like stormtroopers walking through fire. Phasma's in the front.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Probably
I'll have to
not
watch
at the
it
temple,
again.
probably on the ship that they showed blowing up earlier when Poe's X-Wing blows up.
Okay.
Lots of things happened apparently that
What's
you
so
didn't. There's too
funny?
much glare.
Just Josh, he's so excited.
Well, I have to watch those short trailers like 100 times to catch it all because it's so fast.
It is. They're fast cuts.
And I don't do any internet tricks to slow it down and watch it.
It's not really an internet trick.
Pixel by pixel.
You can do that on your phone.
Oh.
Yeah. We learned more about Celebration. We learned about the Star Wars theme parks.
We didn't learn about that at Celebration.
No, you learned about it when you got home.
Well, not just that one. There's a... no, they talked about it at the thing.
I didn't watch that panel.
We didn't hear that.
They talked about how it's going to be like an immersive experience. So, like...
You didn't say what your favorite part of the trailer was. Let's not get off the trailer yet.
The spaceship scene where there's the line of frigates blasting.
Yeah.
That was my
and
favorite.
X-Wings and A-Wings and
Yeah.
stuff. There's A-Wings. Did you see the A-Wings?
Mm-mm.
That's a big deal to some people. There's AT-ATs in the background on Crate.
I think I saw that.
The junk ship things are flying to go attack AT-ATs.
Hmm.
And you saw Rose in a hallway.
I didn't see her. I didn't even know
I thought she was in the trailer. Maybe she wasn't.
she's just
Maybe
in
it was
your
just the
head.
picture they showed.
You're just imagining.
No,
it
they
already.
definitely showed a picture of her during
Oh.
the panel. Her character. She's an Asian actress, and she's got like anime hair. It's the best.
What's anime hair?
What's the Asian girl on Scott Pilgrim?
Ramona.
No, the Asian with the movie, not the comic. Nails?
Oh, yeah. Something like that.
I think it's Nails. Do you remember her haircut in the movie?
I guess.
You're a hair person. Like this is up
Well,
your
you
wheelhouse.
have to tell me something. You're just saying.
I'm saying
that
that's
she
what
has a
Rose's hair
haircut.
looks like.
I know, but you're not describing it. You're just saying.
This character in a specific thing that you've seen that has unique hair, it looks like that.
Let me look it up.
Just look up Rose's hair. You don't have to look up Nails' hair and then
Oh, too late.
introspectively guess what Rose's looks like. There's a picture of Rose. So
They're only showing the other girl. They don't show.
just watch. Use Google. Kelly Marie Tran's character in Star Wars.
Oh my gosh.
Look at that. First picture. Google rocks.
Let me see. Oh, yeah. I
She's
didn't
got
even catch
thick
that.
bangs.
So, anyway, at the new park, you're supposed to be able to, it's going to be more interactive. Like, you'll be able to
Turn
Like-
knobs and bits and
like
boops and droids will go burp,
pick-
burp, burp, burp,
you
burp,
like
burp, 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 burp.
from what I read, you would even be able to pick factions and
Like you play a
like,
role play.
You play games.
That was
and
in that Starship thing.
It influences that's a different thing, but
Yeah.
it influences like what happens to you at the park.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Like if stormtroopers roll up
Yeah.
and try and
right.
because there's rebel activity.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they announced that later, but they're talking about doing a Star Wars hotel.
Yeah, imagine like a cruise ship without the ship or the water, where you're kind of captively in this
It's like fake spaceship.
fake spaceship for 3 days,
That would be amazing.
and you can either role play or just watch other people role play, and just
Yeah.
be immersed.
It's like $1,000, and then you can be
Sounds
in Star Wars.
great.
You wouldn't have to wait in line.
Yeah. What else?
The Rebels panel, they announced season 4 is the last season.
Yeah, I saw
I
that.
thought season 3 was going to be the last.
It was originally, and then they came back and said it's not.
One thing I did notice about Celebration is that Filoni and what's his name?
Pablo
Yeah,
Hidalgo.
they are like mega stars of
That
Star
might
Wars.
have just
now.
been
Filoni
because
is
they
for
were
sure.
the ones there on
No,
day one.
I mean, they're like moving up into like Lucas level style.
Well,
like
So when Filoni came out for the 40th anniversary
Why are you calling
panel,
him Filoni?
Filoni,
Okay.
George said basically like he's my son, my second child.
yeah, he's the new
Yeah.
he's the guy.
He's the spiritual
Which is
successor.
the one with the cowboy hat?
Filoni.
Hmm.
Pablo's the one who trolls everybody and acts really snobby.
He's the little short gnome.
Okay.
All right, so
I know what they look like. I just didn't know which one had the cowboy hat.
Filoni. He's the one who loves wolves.
What?
yeah,
You don't remember that? He has like an unnatural infatuation with wolves.
I think that was like, and that had to do with something on Rebels.
Yeah, so the whole thing was he drew a bunch of these pictures of wolves, and like he was gonna have a whole wolves episode, and then they ended up not having it, and so he made these cards in the Topps card trader app game thing, where it shows a story of Ahsoka going into that temple that she goes into at the end of season 3 or 2, end of season 2, and it insinuates like she meets these wolf things. She like walks into the water, and it's weird. So now in the trailer for season 4 of Rebels, Kanan and Ezra are riding a giant wolf. And I'm not even kidding you. The theory
Is it Ahsoka?
is that the wolf is Ahsoka.
That's her spirit animal.
Super weird.
That is really weird. Who has
We
that theory?
we didn't hear this at Celebrations, but we heard it afterward that there's rumors about an Ahsoka movie, and
Where did you hear that? Like at Denny's
somebody was talking.
in Cocoa Beach?
No, although they do have a lot of Denny's around.
They got a lot of Waffle Houses.
Yeah, they
There are
do.
a lot of Denny's too.
Yeah,
actually.
there's lots of Denny's. I mean, maybe it's just like a rumor, but somebody said Rosario Dawson.
So we had this discussion. Yeah.
Yeah, Jenny was like super mad.
I'm against Rosario Dawson
I am
being
too.
Ahsoka in any movie.
I'm not.
I
I think she'd do a
totally
good
am.
job. She'd be the right age.
A million actors.
fit
She's
it.
not the right age.
By the time they did a movie for this, she would be older
I don't know.
How do you know
I
at
don't
what
think
point
so.
they would be
because they
filming
do the point
Ahsoka's
that
life?
I decided in my head.
So that was a big deal to a lot of people that they didn't announce anything. They pretty much, at this point last year, they announced the Han Solo movie was going to happen. And they announced what the next celebration was, where it was going to be. This one, they didn't announce any more movies.
Oh, I think they should have it in the same place. They did a killer job.
Where are they doing it next year?
Well, so there isn't one next year. We talked about this before.
Yeah.
The next one will be in 2019, and they didn't announce where it was. They said wherever it'll be.
Wow.
Yeah, it was super weird.
That is weird.
And so everyone was like, oh, they're going to announce the Kenobi movie. There's going to be, Ewan McGregor is going to show up, and they're going to announce the Kenobi movie. It didn't happen.
They could do anything they wanted. They could have a press conference and some live stream. It goes to everybody's app.
Right.
It doesn't.
I agree.
They're not beholden to this celebration.
They aren't, but if they don't
It's a pretty
announce,
good forum.
if they don't announce stuff,
they kind of owe something to their fans.
yeah, that's what it comes down. Like if nothing happens at Celebration, then nobody will go.
like what? Yeah, what's the point? If
'Cause a
they're
lot of the
if
big
there's
draw
big,
is the
huge
panels and the
news
announcements.
or anything exciting coming from it.
I think a lot of people were pretty excited
It's-
about the stuff that happened.
Yeah. But
Once
think
you
of
got-
think
if
of
you were gonna
Comic
be-
Con.
if
When
you're
did
gonna be
Comic
there
Con
all
get
4 days,
huge? When did San Diego Comic Con get huge?
When all the movie stuff started going.
Right,
there.
when all the panels where they announced movies
Yeah.
started happening. That's the big draw. The tent pole draw is announcements. People got to be in the room when Freddie Prinze Jr. is announced as Kanan as a
Freddie-
force frog.
Freddie Pretzel.
That's not his name.
Okay.
I don't think there was any. Oh, Star Wars Battlefront 2 was announced.
Meh.
I did not. So that was my response to Battlefront 1. You didn't shake that up very good. You got lots of probiotics down there at the bottom.
lot of sediment.
One time, like sometimes they're like big, like clumps that
Yeah,
look like
compacted.
jellyfish.
Yeah.
They're like gooey and stringy, and there's like a bubble inside, and it's almost like snot in your mouth.
Oh,
And,
that's
like,
wonderful.
One time, I didn't know that was there, and the whole
You got the clump in your mouth, and you're like,
yeah,
that's gross.
yeah.
Now you made me forget. Oh, Battlefront 1, I was ambivalent to because it was only multiplayer. Battlefront 2, now gonna come out this fall. It has a single player, and it has an in-canon story that is about an Imperial Special Forces group immediately following the destruction of the Death Star 2.
That sounds cool.
Yeah,
I'd play that.
it's super cool looking. And like the main character is this lady who's in charge of this. They're called like Onyx Squadron or something. They're like super hardcore bad guy Imperials. And they're like super torn up that the Emperor got killed. And they're going to go get revenge for the Emperor's death.
Cool.
So I'm actually sort of hyped about Battlefront.
Yeah, all
2.
right, all right.
There was Star Wars camping gear too.
Really?
There was a company that sold like all Star Wars themed camping gear.
Yeah, the more high-end vendors, not the like street vendors where they're selling used stuff, but those other vendors sell some pretty cool stuff. Oh,
there was
one that
fashion.
sells musterwear.
Yeah.
Musterwear?
that was cool.
Yeah, hashtag musterwear.
Did you find Han Solo's jacket?
There was some jackets.
There were. It was like more
really
like
nice
Poe's jacket.
They were like hundreds of dollars.
I bet. If they're
There
like
was
real
some
leather.
really nice, like high-end Star Wars clothing.
You should have gotten Michael Young. He could have traded you some chickens for a Han Solo
exactly
jacket.
like Han's, but it was nice.
He's been. Don't you remember the emailing?
I don't know why he would trade his chickens for
I
that.
hit my knee.
Because he really wants a Han Solo jacket.
There's so many emails.
We're way behind on emails.
You're not
which
going to
is
have
a good
time to
problem.
do emails today.
We'll have to do like a feed. We can do like one email.
I want to do Jesus's.
Then do it.
You've only got 8 minutes.
Okay.
All right.
What else do you need to say about Celebration? I thought I was happy with what happened after I left.
I was super happy about not going and just sitting and listening to it.
I felt super
that's a way
gypped
better way to do it.
about the whole thing because we went there and waded through all that
I think
and then didn't get to experience anything besides walking around
Yeah.
and looking at
I think if you
merchandise.
commit and you go for like 3 or 4 days and you are able to do like the
Yeah.
after parties
Yep.
and
Yeah,
If
it
you
would
could-
be legit.
If you could
but
get
like, don't just go a day. It's awful.
But even
Unless
if
you get there early,
committed,
super early.
you would have spent over half your day in line and then still
But the
not
thing
been
is
able
I bet
to-
you the people that got there at 7 didn't spend half their day
Yes,
in
they
line.
did.
yeah, they did.
Jesus was in line for over 6 hours by the time we saw him at 3:00.
But he chose to go there at 5 in the morning when he knew the doors weren't going to open.
Most of his line wasn't before, though. It was hours once you get in to get your lanyard,
Right, to
then
get his wristband.
hours to get into line for the panel,
Right,
and then
that's what-
hours to wait for a
He
seat.
chose.
All right. Okay.
Yeah,
So
it was
we're
a
gonna
lot of lines.
we're gonna do Jesus's email.
I think
here.
you could have avoided some time. That's all I'm saying. Here comes Jesus' email.
Yep. Okay. So he was our official SWN correspondent. He took a lot of really great pictures. I already talked about that, but that is one cool thing about Celebration. You can see other people's pictures. It's better if you just see it on a screen than if you're there.
In the live stream when it worked.
Because I was there and Jesus would take a picture of something,
like, that looks awesome.
but I saw it
And then
in
you
real
walk
life.
up to it and is this made out of paper mache?
I saw it in real life and I
It
was like,
looks
that's not
bigger in the
nearly as
picture or
exciting.
Yeah.
something.
It's larger than life.
All right, so he says, Hola, SWNU. After an exhausting and very exciting 4 days, I can finally sit down and write a few of my thoughts and highlights of Celebrations, he says.
Yeah.
George Lucas still doesn't get Star Wars fandom. He said it himself. Star Wars is for 12-year-olds. But in the same speech, he mentioned how he wanted to blend the coming of age story with high-level mythology, which is definitely not for 12-year-olds.
I'm going to cut right here. So I did not take George's statement that way. I said that's why he does it is for 12-year-olds and their reaction and how happy it makes children.
Mm-hmm.
But he doesn't do it just for them. Like that he specifically talks about how he tries to make all the fans happy, but his goal at the end of the day is that reaction from children. So I think Jesus took it a little too
Literally.
yeah.
And then he continues, I just think cosplayers confuse him. The 40 Years of Star Wars panel was a roller coaster of emotions from awkward, George, to amazing, Harrison. But it became epic when John Williams took the stage and played Princess Leia's theme, Not a Single Dry Eye in the Place.
Other than yours. Yours
bet-
were very dry.
Yeah, we were scorched.
I was right. Josh was wrong. Captain Rex is in Endor. Hidalgo and Filoni showed concept art of Rex in the Endor uniform.
They did
And
it in a
Hidalgo
very good.
said to speculate away. So yeah, he survived.
They did it in a super trolly way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of Rebels, everyone was teary-eyed, including Filoni and the Rebels cast, when he announced that the 4th season would be the last. I like that the big bad of the whole series is Thrawn, and it is a story of how evil and calculating the Empire is, as embodied by Thrawn. I hope that Thrawn isn't killed off, but instead sent to the unknown region in pursuit of Kanan. But with the introduction of Ruck to the show, is that how you pronounce it?
I don't know.
R-U-H-K?
I didn't listen to that one, so I don't know.
My guess is that his end will be the same as in Legends. The bummer of the end of Rebels was definitely offset by the announcement of Warwick Davis in the cast of Rebels as Ruck, whatever
Right.
it is.
People who don't know, that's his Nori bodyguard. So we talked in a previous episode that his bodyguards are these weird Nori people.
Yeah, then they later become like...
Well,
Leia's-
you don't want to spoil it.
Yeah, I don't know anything.
But that's not
Just
That's
like
not canon.
Jesus said, the fact that they're adding it in kind of sets up the fact that they're going to
They're not
ultimately resolve the story similarly.
The same thing. The Last Jedi panel was great, but not awesome. Nothing really surprising happened. The surprise guests were the cast of the movie, so of course they were going to be there. The real surprise would have been if Adam Driver appeared, but no, just the main cast. Trailer was awesome, of course, but everyone saw that. Glad I didn't spend the night in line for that.
Oh, I just remembered something I read.
He gets up at like 4 a.m. They got up at crazy times every
That's
day.
what some normal people do. Somebody thought about asking Rian Johnson why Kylo's scar is different than how it is at the end of The Force Awakens. And
Yeah.
Ryan said, yeah, I changed it because it looked goofy. It's just my favorite answer.
Yeah,
that I read.
that is a really good answer.
Yeah. I didn't want to look at that for a whole nother movie. So we just made it look better.
Mark Hamill's tribute to Carrie Fisher was honest, poignant, and emotional. I was worried that the tribute would be pandering to the fandom, but Hamill managed to keep it personal in a theater of over 1,000 people, and he just talked about the passing of a friend. Definitely recommend to watch this one on YouTube. On the flip side of that, Anthony Daniels and Warwick Davis's panel was extraordinarily hilarious. I never really understood why people liked Daniels so much until this panel, this vaudeville show. Sorry, Josh, I didn't get to go to the David Collins Music of Rogue One panel, but definitely catch his portrayal of Han Solo in Smuggler's Revenge. It was awesome, and it wasn't even rehearsed. Sam Witwer is hotter in person, and Alan Tudyk shook my hand because I mentioned A Knight's Tale.
Yeah.
You have anything to say about A Knight's Tale, Josh?
I've watched that movie. So is Jeff. Jeff and I have watched that movie countless times.
I have watched it a lot. It's really good. Those are the highlights of Celebration for me, but I think I'm forgetting something. Oh yeah, I got to meet Jen and Tim. I had to
This is why you wanted to read the email.
I haven't read this email.
I had to get in 3 lines, 5 hours each, in a freezing convention center, but totally worth it. We didn't get tattoos. Our wives gave us really stern looks. Sorry, Tim. Next time. Nerd Cinco out.
It was also, we forgot to talk about that. Once you got out of the blistering heat and into the convention center, you were like bone-chilling cold.
It wasn't.
Good thing you
that
brought the
cold.
sweater.
I know.
It wasn't that hot out, and it
Everybody-
wasn't that cold.
It was over 80 degrees. It was
really warm.
freezing inside. Jesus was like, "Oh, it's so cold!" Like
That's 'cause
everybody was
He's
getting
from
Texas.
Austin, so
everybody
like.
was getting sick.
Dallas.
Oh, is he?
You said it was cold when we were there. You're just trying to argue with me, and they were like, "Oh, you're so smart for bringing a sweater," and I was like, "I know,
Oh man.
I'm from the north, the great white north.
winter is coming."
Okay, so that was our experience at Celebration and our official correspondence.
Experience.
Experience.
As well.
His Instagram is at Calixto. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but it's Kaliscto. I'm pretty sure.
You can just put it on the Twitter.
That is really complicated. Kliscsto. And anyway, he took a ton of awesome pictures. There was a ton of listeners that sent in emails about the trailer and about Celebration and the announcements. And I'm sorry we're not reading them.
Well, it'll not be on the next episode.
Yeah.
But it'll be the next episode that we record.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. You'll have to wait a while to get the reactions to Celebration, but there'll be a ton of feedback.
I still need to
for
watch
sure.
the panels and get my own reaction.
Yeah, I don't think just they're
Synopsis.
mostly reactions to the trailer, not the panels.
So we could just record a feedback episode. We're going to have a ton.
Probably.
Anyway, whatever. 6:41 p.m. I got to go.
Tim's got a rockin' concert he's got
I
to
do.
go to.
I got to go to a kids chorus concert. I hate going to this stuff.
Then don't.
That's the only bad part about being an adult is going to stupid crap
That's
you don't
not
want to.
the-
That's not an
bad
adult
part.
thing. That's being an
Parent. That's
adult with
parents.
children.
A
Parent, that's what I
parent
meant.
who has children in 5th grade band.
Did you hear when we played that one bar? Like you got the kid who plays like fourth chair flute,
Junior,
and they're only allowed to play like during the Star Spangled Banner.
Junior high band is so terrible. I don't even like high school band.
High school band is immensely better.
It's still
But I
not
still
good.
did not want to sit
Weeded
there.
out all the garbage. Most of the garbage. All right, so this one's over. This one was on Celebration 2017.
Next year.
We're not going
to
next
sit
year.
at home.
There won't be one next year.
Next year, I'm gonna watch the panels. I'm gonna wait for them.
We already committed in digital form that we would go to 2019.
What?
Yeah, we did.
Tim committed.
Oh my
He said we'll all be there.
We're on
What if it is
BenView.
in Europe?
We're on even better.
Yeah.
We're in the BenView network. We are on Retro Junkies network. We are everywhere on the internet. You can find us, rate us, and review us places like iTunes. And
If you're
Stitcher,
listening to
please.
this really loud, Alexa, play a Star Wars podcast.
Good job.
and it'll play us.
It'll play us somehow.
Yeah.
Our friend figured it out.
Tell Siri now.
Siri doesn't do anything.
I was gonna say, I'm sorry, I can't help you with that right now.
What else we need to talk about? Oh, we got a Patreon if you want to look that up. We've got an Amazon link if you would please buy your Amazon stuff through our Amazon link on StarWarsNerdsUnite.com. That helps us. Talk to us on Twitter and Facebook and email us letters at StarWarsNerdsUnite.com. May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you.
Oh, there's a Periscope of this too if you want to watch it.
Oh, yeah.
Bye.
Did you hear that? We're doomed.
This podcast is a part of the BenView network.
You can find this and other podcasts like it at benviewnetwork.com.
I'm Jordan, and this is Nerd's Eye View. Who do I have with me?
I'm Andrew.
I'm Tom. And what do we do here, Andrew?
Well, we talk about movies. Every week we always talk about something that's new in theaters, as well as tell you what's going on with the box office top 10 and what's coming out on DVD and Blu-ray.
And then we do a crazy thing called Guess the Ending, which Andrew has a wonderful catchphrase for, but it mainly involves us coming up with crazy stories for all the new movies that are coming out.
So if any of that sounds good to you, find us online, nevpodcast.com, or on Twitter, at nevpodcast, or benviewnetwork.com.
What was I supposed to say?
This podcast is a part of the BenView network.
You can find this and other podcasts like it at benviewnetwork.com.